The only 3 exercises you need for a brutal chest. Many men spend years in the gym dedicated to building an impressive chest. A well-developed chest not only completely transforms the look of your physique, creating that appearance of strength and masculinity that we so admire, but also perfectly balances with broad shoulders to create the famous V shape. However, even when training this muscle frequently and enthusiastically, most practitioners don't achieve the results they want, staying stuck in a frustrating plateau for years. But before we move on to the exercises, you need to understand the 4 main mistakes that prevent most men from developing this muscle properly. Because let's agree that it won't help at all if you do the best exercises while continuing to make the same silly mistakes, right? Mistake number 1, limitations in range of motion. Maximum chest activation happens in specific positions that many practitioners simply ignore during their workouts. The chest reaches its peak activation at 2 crucial moments, in positions of maximum stretch and complete adduction. The problem is that most popular exercises in gyms, especially the flat and incline barbell bench press, drastically limit this range. When you do a barbell bench press, for example, the bar touches your chest long before you achieve a complete stretch of the pectoral. Additionally, at the end of the movement, your hands cannot cross the midline of the body as would happen in exercises like flies or crossovers. Thus, your chest never receives the optimal stimulus across its entire physiological length. A study conducted by the University of Sports Medicine in Cologne demonstrated that exercises allowing full range of motion generate up to 23% more activation of the pectoralis major fibers when compared to movements with limited range. This is a significant number when thinking about long-term muscle development. What many people don't know is that every inch of range that you fail to explore represents wasted growth potential. It's like watering only half of a plant and expecting it to grow completely. Mechanical tension, the main factor for hypertrophy, needs to be applied throughout the entire extent of the muscle. To correct this mistake, you need to include exercises that allow both maximum stretch and complete adduction. Dumbbells and cables are excellent for this, as they don't restrict the natural movement of the joints. When performing exercises with this equipment, make sure you feel the complete stretch in the lower position and maximum contraction when the arms approach or cross the midline of the body. Mistake number 2, not having knowledge about chest fibers. The pectoralis major is not a homogeneous muscle as many believe. It has different fiber directions and distinct anatomical origins, dividing into 3 main portions: the clavicular portion, the sternal portion, and the abdominal portion. Each of these regions responds differently to stimuli and working angles. Most conventional workouts focus excessively on the flat bench press, which predominantly activates the medial and sternal fibers. This leaves the upper and lower fibers with insufficient or inadequate stimulus. The result is a chest that appears flat, without that 3-dimensional density and impressive look that we see in well-developed physiques. Additionally, there is a crucial physiological aspect that is rarely discussed. The pectoralis major is extremely rich in type 2 muscle fibers. These fibers respond much better to heavy loads, explosive movements, and greater mechanical tension. However, many practitioners train exclusively with moderate loads and high repetitions, which favors muscle endurance more than actual hypertrophy in this specific muscle group. Mistake number 3, letting synergists dominate the movement. In multi-joint exercises for chest, muscles like triceps and anterior deltoids frequently fatigue much before the chest itself. This creates a significant limitation in the effective overload that reaches the target muscle, drastically reducing results. People with very developed anterior deltoids, for example, tend to steal the movement in the bench press and even in incline variations. You might be doing bench press and think you're training chest, when in fact your shoulder is doing most of the work. This leaves the chest understimulated, receiving only a fraction of the stimulus you think you're applying. The chest is a muscle that requires a high degree of mind-muscle connection to be truly activated efficiently. This happens because its main movements can easily be taken over by other larger or stronger muscles that act as synergists. To perform it correctly, you need to develop body awareness and deliberately focus on the contraction of the chest. Without conscious emphasis on maintaining proper scapular retraction and keeping constant tension in the chest throughout the execution, neural recruitment becomes deficient and hypertrophy compromised. A common mistake is letting the elbows move too far away from the body during pressing movements, which transfers the work to the deltoids. Keep the elbows at an angle of approximately 45 to 60 degrees relative to the trunk to maximize chest activation and minimize stress on the shoulders. Mistake number 4, not controlling the eccentric phase. Most practitioners concentrate all their attention and effort only on the concentric phase of the movement, when they're pushing the weight up in the bench press or closing their arms in the crossover. They think the importance is just in lifting the dumbbell and simply let the weight fall in free fall on the descent without any control or intention. What many people don't know is that they're wasting more than half of the exercise's hypertrophy potential by ignoring the eccentric phase, the moment when the muscle is stretching under tension. In a dumbbell bench press, for example, the controlled descent is as or more important than the ascent for muscle development. A study published in the European Journal of Applied Physiology proved that controlling the eccentric phase can increase hypertrophy by up to 40% when compared to training that focuses only on the concentric phase. The researchers found that positive muscle damage is significantly greater during the controlled eccentric phase. Time under tension is a determining factor for muscle growth, and ignoring half of the movement means reducing this time by half. Additionally, you can support approximately 20 to 30% more weight in the eccentric phase than in the concentric, which means that by letting the weight fall, you're missing the opportunity to subject the muscle to greater overload. To perform it correctly, dedicate at least 2 to 3 seconds to the eccentric phase of each repetition. You should feel the chest stretching under control, actively resisting gravity, instead of simply letting the weight descend. This will not only maximize growth, but also protect your joints from injuries caused by sudden movements. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Having constant access to science-based information is what will make you progress with health in the long term in the bodybuilding world. Now that you already know the 4 main mistakes, let's go to the exercises needed to build an impressive chest. Exercise number 1, incline dumbbell bench press. The incline dumbbell bench press is arguably the best exercise to develop the upper part of the chest, known as the clavicular portion. This is precisely the region most difficult to develop for most people, but also the one that contributes most to that appearance of a 3D and imposing chest. We start our workout with this exercise precisely to prioritize the most problematic area when we still have maximum energy. The choice of dumbbells instead of the bar is not random. It solves several fundamental development problems. First, dumbbells allow a much greater range of motion, allowing you to descend more deeply and completely stretch the chest in the lower position. Additionally, at the top of the movement, you can perform a more complete adduction, bringing the dumbbells closer to each other, which is impossible with a bar. The angle of the bench is absolutely crucial for the success of this exercise. Many people make the mistake of using very steep inclines, which transfers the work to the anterior deltoid. The ideal is an incline of approximately 30 degrees, which maximizes activation of the upper portion of the chest without overloading the shoulders. To perform it correctly, position yourself on the bench with your feet firmly supported on the floor for stability. Hold the dumbbells with a neutral grip at chest height. Inhale and lower the dumbbells with control, allowing the elbows to move slightly away from the body, but not excessively. Descend until you feel a good stretch in the chest, usually when the dumbbells are at the height of the armpits or slightly below. On the way up, concentrate on pushing through the chest, not the triceps or shoulders. Visualize your chest contracting and being the main driver of the movement. At the top, avoid completely locking the elbows to maintain constant tension in the target muscle. Bring the dumbbells closer to each other at the point of maximum contraction without necessarily touching them. For load and volume, I recommend 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions, prioritizing impeccable execution. Start with a weight that allows you to complete this volume with perfect technique and gradually increase. Remember that each repetition should have a controlled eccentric phase of 2 to 3 seconds to maximize results. Exercise number 2, high pulley crossover. The high pulley crossover is an exceptional exercise to develop the lower part of the chest, creating that curvature and definition in the lower region that gives a complete and aesthetic aspect to the muscle. While the incline bench press works primarily the upper portion, this movement perfectly complements the development, focusing on the often neglected abdominal portion. The beauty of this exercise lies in its ability to allow an absolutely complete range of motion, something that no barbell exercise can offer. In the initial position, the chest reaches a maximum stretch, And in the final position, the arms cross the midline of the body, allowing a complete contraction of the muscle fibers. To perform it correctly, start by adjusting the pulleys to the highest possible position. Stand in the center of the machine, with one foot slightly in front of the other for better stability. Hold the handles with slightly flexed arms, never completely stretched to avoid excessive stress on the elbows and shoulders. Take a small step forward to create initial tension. The movement begins with the arms open, creating a great stretch in the chest. It's fundamental to feel this sensation of stretch before starting the concentric phase. During the movement, maintain a slight flexion in the elbows. This is not an elbow extension movement, but a shoulder adduction. Bring your hands down and forward in an arc movement, as if you were hugging a large tree. The secret is to focus on the final part of the movement, when the hands cross. Many practitioners stop when the hands meet, losing the benefit of maximum adduction. Try to cross one hand over the other, alternating which one stays on top with each repetition, and maintain an isometric contraction of 1 to 2 seconds in this position to maximize muscle recruitment. A common mistake is to allow the shoulders to roll forward during the movement. Keep the chest elevated and the shoulders back throughout the execution. Another frequent mistake is to perform the movement too quickly, especially in the eccentric phase. Resist the temptation to let the cables pull your arms back. Control the return for at least 2 seconds. To maximize results, I recommend 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions. As this is an isolation exercise, you can work with slightly higher repetitions than in compound exercises. Focus on the mind-muscle connection and the quality of each repetition, instead of simply moving weight from one point to another. Exercise number 3, machine fly. The machine fly is the perfect complement to finish your chest workout with mastery. Unlike the pec deck, the machine fly allows an even deeper stretch of the chest, creating an exceptional range of motion that few exercises can provide. This exercise is particularly valuable because it places the chest in a position of maximum stretch, something fundamental to stimulate muscle growth. Studies show that the stimulus of stretching under tension is one of the most potent triggers for hypertrophy. The extreme stretch that you achieve in the initial position of this movement creates a mechanical stimulus that activates specific cellular signaling pathways for growth. To perform it correctly, start by adjusting the bench so that your arms are parallel to the floor when holding the handles. Sit with your back completely supported and hold the handles with a slight flexion in the elbows. This flexion should be maintained constant throughout the movement to protect the joint and maximize work in the chest. In the initial position, allow your arms to open completely until you feel a significant but comfortable stretch through the chest and anterior shoulder region. Don't force beyond your mobility limit. The stretch should be intense, but never painful. The closing movement should be performed with absolute control, concentrating on using the chest as the main driver. Imagine that you're squeezing something between your arms, creating tension through the center of the chest. At the point of maximum contraction, maintain a pause of 1 to 2 seconds to intensify the stimulus. What makes this exercise particularly valuable is that it almost completely removes the participation of the triceps, allowing you to focus exclusively on the chest, even when it's already pre-fatigued from previous exercises. Additionally, the machine provides a resistance curve that maintains constant tension in the muscle throughout the entire range. The eccentric phase deserves special attention in this exercise. When returning to the stretch position, control the movement for at least 3 seconds. This resistance to stretching is where much of the growth stimulus happens. Think about holding the weight, actively resisting the opening of the arms, instead of simply allowing it to separate them. As for breathing technique, inhale during the opening phase and exhale during closing. This natural synchronization helps maintain core stability and maximizes the strength available for the movement. For progression, I recommend 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions. As this is your final exercise, you can work until near muscle failure, especially in the last sets. The sensation of burning and muscle congestion is particularly intense in this movement, and this is exactly what we want to finish the workout. Bonus exercise, low pulley crossover. As we explained in the first exercise, the upper chest, also known as the clavicular portion, is the most difficult part to develop for most people. Therefore, if you feel that with just one exercise you're not having good progress in this portion, you can add this specific movement to your arsenal. The low pulley crossover is often underestimated as an exercise for the upper chest, but when performed correctly, it offers a unique and extremely effective stimulus for this problematic region. The key is in the angle and intention of the movement. The tip here is to position the pulley at about the height of your knee, as this will help significantly reduce the participation of the anterior deltoid, which tends to dominate when the pulleys are positioned higher. This specific positioning creates a force vector that favors the activation of the upper portion of the chest during the upward movement. Another extremely important tip to maximize chest work in this exercise is to focus on adduction during the movement, not just elevation. You have to imagine that you're simultaneously lifting and closing the movement as if you were hugging something and lifting at the same time. If you just raise your arms, you'll be maximizing the work of the anterior deltoid, not the upper chest. To perform it correctly, position yourself in the center between the two low pulleys, with your feet in a stable posture, one slightly in front of the other. Hold the handles with a slight external rotation of the shoulders. The thumbs should be slightly higher than the pinkies. Lean the trunk slightly forward, keeping the back straight and the core engaged. The movement begins with the arms open and slightly in front of the body. From there, bring your hands up and inward in an arc movement, ending with the hands meeting approximately at chin height or slightly above. It's crucial to maintain a slight flexion in the elbows throughout the movement. They should not lock or bend excessively. At the point of maximum contraction, concentrate on squeezing the chest for 1 to 2 seconds before returning in a controlled manner to the initial position. This isometric squeeze at the top is fundamental to maximize the activation of the upper chest. During the eccentric phase, resist the weight for at least 2 seconds, not allowing the cables to simply pull your arms back. In this case, I recommend that you already place it as the third exercise, after the high pulley crossover, as this way you take advantage of already being at the pulley and don't have to return to it later. We know that not all gyms provide multiple pulleys, so you can save a good amount of time doing this. A common mistake is to lean forward excessively during the movement, which transfers the work to the lats. Maintain only a slight inclination, sufficient to facilitate the movement without compromising chest activation. Another frequent mistake is using momentum, swinging the body to help with the movement. This drastically reduces the effectiveness of the exercise. As for volume, I recommend 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions. As this is a complementary exercise, use a weight that allows perfect execution without compromising technique. Progression can be done by gradually increasing the weight, but always prioritizing the quality of the movement and the sensation in the upper chest. If you liked this and also want to discover a complete back workout based on science to have the much dreamed of V-shape, we've left a video appearing right now on the screen showing it. Don't miss it. Thank you for watching until here, and may God bless you, my friend.